non-government NGO or any one-man band, these are questions you need to know. They're the things that promote innovation. I call them the 8 nations of innovations. Now, the 8 nations of innovations are not geographic. They are imaginations. They're the nations in your mind. These are the questions, the 8 questions I use to build Saddleback, the Purpose-Driven Movement, the Global Peace Coalition, and a number of other organizations. Number 1, the first question you have to ask is the termination question. And the first question is this: what do I first need to stop? If you're burning the candle at both ends, you're not as bright as you think you are. You can have so many irons in the fire, you put out the fire. And so you first ask, what do I need to stop doing before you start anything new? Now, the great Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter used to call this creative destruction. My mentor, Peter Drucker, used to call it systematic abandonment. I say it like this: when the horse is dead, dismount. It's a real key to success. And some of you are on horses that may have been dead for a long time, but you're still trying to beat it to make it get through in the race. When I used to meet with my mentor, Peter Drucker, and I'd walk in, the first thing Peter would say, Rick, don't tell me what new you're doing. Tell me what you stopped doing. He would always make me tell him what I had stopped doing first before I could tell him all the new things that I was excited about. That is termination. Termination is often the key to future innovations. At Saddleback Church, for many years, we had a midweek Bible study. We had 1,000 people coming to this Bible study, which is more than most people have on a weekend. And we had 1,000 people, and one day we just decided to end it, just terminate it. Why? Because we weren't satisfied with 1,000 people. We said, let's decentralize it and put it into small groups. And so today, because we terminated our midweek service, we now have 32,000 people in Bible studies in over 5,000 small groups from Santa Monica to San Diego. Every city in Southern California has a Saddleback small group in it. I would have never had 5,000 small groups if I hadn't terminated that midweek service. We had to start with something. You stop before you start. Termination. Second question. The second.
We'll skip to number 4. 40 minutes long. But I would encourage you to, get it from YouTube. Search Rick Warren, The 8 Nations of Innovation. It's very interesting. We'll go to the fourth. Think about that question, though, before we go forward. That whole, what are we going to stop doing? That is such a key question. Because we spend such little time in schools talking about what we're going to stop doing. And most of our time is spent on what we're going to do. But a key question, I think, is just that. What are we going to stop doing? That has implications financially, spirit of the school, spirituality of the school, implementation of the mission. All of those things can be seen through the lens of what are we going to stop doing. Okay, next one. Did something new that was different. That's a question. Okay, number 4. Let me give you another one. After combination, this is a big one. Elimination. Elimination is the question where you ask yourself, what part could we take out in order to make it simpler? I wish a lot of software developers would learn this one. A good friend of mine is Steve Case, who founded AOL and a bunch of other things. And Steve would say, we always overestimate the amount of complexity people will put up with. Isn't that the truth? What we need is to make it simpler. And simpler means you need to take stuff out, not keep adding more features, but taking stuff out to make it simpler. What can we take out that'll be simpler? What barrier could we remove that'll make it more accessible?
What complexity can we get rid of to make it easier? And that's what's called taking down the borders. And it may be emotional borders, it may be mental borders, it may be financial borders, it may be ethnic borders or religious borders or whatever. Matthew Peterson said it earlier, I wrote this down, he said, how do we eliminate the language barrier in teaching math? Brilliant. That's an elimination question. That's one of the nations of innovation. How do you take it down? When I moved here in 1980, and I was 25 years old, and I was going to start a church, and I thought, Mission Viejo is where I started, and the land was costing $1 million an acre then, and I thought, I'm going to need at least 50 acres. And I thought, no, that's ridiculous. We all had a big laugh about that. And I thought, okay, at the price of land in Orange County, how in the world could I ever build a church the size that I can imagine in my mind? So, what did we eliminate? The need for a building. We said, let's be the first church in the world to prove that you can be a large church without a building. So, we went 15 years without a building. Those people don't know this. Saddleback grew to over 10,000 in attendance before we built our first building. We were using 4 different high schools. We were using camps. We were using banks. We were using parks. We were using stadiums. We were using tents. In the first 13 years of that church, we used 89 different facilities in Orange County. We said, this is a church where if you can figure out where we are this week, you get to come. We only really want intelligent people, so if you can't find us, you're not really. So what do you do when you got a barrier? You just remove it. Well, we can't get land, so what? We'll build a church without land. So we were running over 10,000 in attendance, one of the largest churches in America, without a building. Now, it meant setting it up and taking it down every week, but we removed the barrier. Here's another one, number 5. Reincarnation.
Here they are. Termination. What do we need to stop doing? Coordination. How do we do it faster, larger, cheaper with the team? Combination. What could we mix, blend together to make something new? Elimination. What part could we take out to make it simpler? Reincarnation. What has died, but we could bring back to life in a new form? Rejuvenation. How could we change the purpose or motivation for doing it? Illumination. How can we look at this in a new light? And fascination. How can we make it more interesting? So again, I would encourage you to watch this video on YouTube, and it's a very stimulating exercise when it comes to thinking about strategy, planning, dreams, how to move your organization forward for the strategic plan. Before we go into, any questions or comments anyone might have about anything that we've covered so far during this session? Any questions or comments? Okay, if not, we're going to do a little exercise. And we're going to pass out a sheet of poster paper to each table. And each table is going to, we're asking each table to come up with a response to this challenge. In the form of a specific challenge, share just one significant and transformational idea that you believe could profoundly affect the value and impact of Turlock Christian School. And it's in the form of a challenge, like reduce tuition by 15%. That would be a challenge. I'm not recommending that one. I'm just using that as an example. That would be a challenge. In the form of a specific challenge, share just one significant and transformational, it'll transform your school, transformational idea that you believe could profoundly affect the value and impact of Turlock Christian School. We'll spend maybe 5-10 minutes, and then each one will come forward and present their idea, one idea. Remember, just one.